Hope everyone's doing well. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, there we go. All right, now we got some sounds, we got some mics, we're good to go. All right, so let's jump in. Sorry I'm late this week. Had a little bit to do with private lessons and um, teaching English here in Turkey and stuff. So got to it a little bit late, but just wanted to at least touch base with you guys before we got going to start the week. So thank you so much again for tuning in. Really appreciate it. And let's jump into these games real quick. All right, first game that we've got Washington and the Falcons. So the big questions that I want to answer here is, can Washington get back on track against Atlanta? They had that rough Thursday night game against Chicago. It was kind of embarrassing for them to be beat that badly. And also, how many more weeks are we going to have Ron Rivera as a head coach? I definitely see a path to Eric Bieniemy on this team, and I just think he's a brilliant play caller. He was able to do that and I know Andy Reid was handling the majority of that, but let's be serious. Bieniemy was his right hand man when he was in Kansas City. He was scheming up a lot of the plays that made Kansas City very successful on offense, and I think Andy Reid, when Bieniemy was there, felt very comfortable being able to hand the reins to him. So you've got him ready and primed to kind of take over. This team just seems to lack a little bit of identity, and it's kind of confusing. One thing that's a little bothersome for me and kind of confusing about the Ron Rivera thing is I see a lot of people talk about how we could be dealing with if Bieniemy takes over. They expect this dramatic shift from this team going forward, and I just don't see that. And partly because Ron Rivera is a defensive-minded head coach. He's letting Bieniemy call the plays. I don't expect a big uptick in terms of offensive production. I think they need a few more pieces. And granted, they've got McLaurin, they've got Dotson. Logan Thomas has been pretty good as well, and they've got two decent backs with Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson playing a lot better this year than he has last year. But he's also, not last year he started off hurt after the gunshot wound. So him to be able to come in and play on fresh legs this year and healthy, we've seen a lot better production out of Brian Robinson this year. And I know fantasy owners have been happier with him and what he's been able to provide for them this year. With McLaurin and Dotson, that's a tough thing to watch right now. It's really kind of scary because you see them last week. I think they maybe had 10 targets combined. It just looked really, really bad. And that's against a very, very poor Chicago Bears defense. So things do not get easier for them against Atlanta. Atlanta runs the ball very well. They're going to have less opportunities to be able to try to convert, uh, especially with Atlanta milking the clock. So I think they're going to have to Sam Howell's going to have to do a good job of protecting the ball. He's going to have to make good decisions, and they're going to have to be able to stream up some good plays here to be able to get McLaurin and Dotson involved pretty early in this game. With Atlanta, they're riding high after that, after beating Houston. So, oh, look at that. Clock Rhythm, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yes, Mr. Willie is live. Yes, he is. So good to have you in here. Thank you so much for hopping in, man. All right. So on here with Atlanta, like I mentioned, they're riding high after beating Houston. That was a very emotional win that they had there. They're going to look to do what they normally do behind Arthur Smith, right? They're going to run the ball a lot. Bijan's looked incredible. He looks even better when you look at him from the sky cam and the way he's able to juke guys. It looks next level in terms of what he's able to do. He's an absolute freak. But I just expect a big dose of him and Tyler Algier today. And I must say, like, I feel like Algier takes a backseat to Bijan, but he's a very good running back. And people forget, like, he helped people get to the fantasy playoffs last year. It may have even helped them win in some cases. So please don't sleep on this guy either. Like, he could still be productive. Both of them, there's a path for both of them to be productive within this offense. So what I'm going to be focused on this game is Desmond Ritter and his new target in Van Jefferson. Now they just traded for him from the Rams. I want to know how much are they going to involve him this week in the scheme. Are we going to see Kyle Pitts ever start to be relevant in fantasy? I don't know. Like right now, he's not even the best tight end on this team statistics wise. You look at Jonnu Smith and the way he's producing. I picked him up in a couple leagues because he's actually been producing very well. Kyle Pitts is just sad. At this point, I would say after this week, if you don't see much production out of them, I'd say you're safe to drop him and not worry about it. Now, I understand what I'm asking you. Drop Kyle Pitts after this week if he doesn't produce. I know that's a very difficult thing. That's like ripping off a scab that's almost healed. But listen, it's been a huge sample size of this. We've seen how bad it's been. He has had targets and an uptick in targets, especially last week. But guys, like the production's just not there, and this offense isn't catered around him. They really, what they need to do is trade him to a team and watch him blow up on another team and see how he produces there. But let's move on into the next game. We've got Minnesota at Chicago. Now, this is going to be kind of tough because we're going to see the missing of JJ commence, and that's really difficult for fantasy owners. I've seen a lot of great memes that have come out this past week in terms of people that have drafted JJ number 1 overall. There was a guy in my guillotine league. He got chopped. One of my buddies has him too. He's a little messed up over it. It's kind of frustrating to see what people are going through with that, and they're looking at 4 to 6 weeks. But I'll be honest with you, they have no incentive to rush this guy back. He signed a massive contract. I don't see any chance of him rushing back. What I do see on this team is a big dose of Addison coming forward, Hawkinson, and probably Osborne stepping up. I just, the targets have to go somewhere. I want to see Addison more involved, but I fear that Osborne might be that guy instead. And I hope Addison's not left out on that because I really think he needs to get the reps. I think he needs to get better. And I think this is a perfect opportunity for him to do that. When I say perfect opportunity, I mean it's unfortunate JJ's hurt. But this is a great opportunity for Addison to be able to handle things. So I really would like to see him play very well and put up a good stat line this game. I've been starting him almost every week, even through that 0 dud that he threw up. But I really think that he's primed to pop off now. News came out, Cousins isn't going to waive that no trade clause. It just, I don't know. He's kind of pissed off about it, about hearing about it constantly from the press. I'm kind of tired of hearing him go to the Jets. I was high on it at the beginning, but now I just, leave the guy alone already. Just let him move on and let him play his season. They think they still have a chance. I really hope Minnesota re-signs him because I don't think they're going to get much out on the trade market. Who are they going to trade for that's going to come in and do a better job than Kirk right now? Yeah, they could draft a rookie, but that sets them back a few years. I don't think they're going to have someone better than him walking through the door any day. So I hope Minnesota runs the ball effectively against the Bears. I expect a lot of Alexander Mattison. You've seen him kind of creep up and get more productive in each of the games. I think this is one where he continues that uptick. In terms of Chicago, I don't know if we're going to get another good performance out of Justin Fields. They say good things happen in threes, but let's see. I'd love to be able to see it. I've got him on multiple teams, but I really want to see him be able to do it this game, and then I'll be a believer that he's an every week starter. The problem is you can't bench him because most times you don't have someone better on the bench, and his upside is just so good with him being able to pop off and run for 175 yards a game. If he breaks one loose, like it just, you got to start him every week, and you got to kind of live with the roller coaster that he sends you on with it. I'm wondering if Brian Flores is going to scheme out DJ Moore because he's really the target that they have on here, right? Guys, cops are coming for me again. It's happening. All right, so I wonder if Brian Flores schemes out DJ Moore in this. He's the target to go to. You definitely saw last week he caught, 230 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns. Brian Flores is going to make sure that they make it a point to get rid of this, to remove him from the game. And then I think you see more of Cole Kmet with that. And I just, their whole backfield in Chicago is injured, right? I've got Khalil Herbert, Roshan Johnson. I'm not positive if Roshan Johnson is playing or not. I didn't catch that, but I know Deonta Foreman, you should see him playing, and he's shown that he was capable last year. I've got Minnesota winning this game. I think they're going to win pretty big. So, all right, let's move on. We got Seattle and the Bengals. Now, this should be my favorite game to watch this week. I expect Geno to continue to protect the ball. Seattle's going to run the ball a lot this game. I just think that's the way you're going to beat the Bengals, right? You need Kenneth Walker to be able to pound the rock, and that's your best hope is to keep Burrow on the bench. Like I talked about it in the podcast earlier this week. If Burrow's like that Brady-esque, Manning-esque type guy, the way you beat teams like that, you play good defense, you get 3-and-outs against them, and you run the ball very well, and you milk the clock. And that's what Seattle needs to do here. So I expect a lot of Walker and Charbonnet. Walker will still be getting the majority of snaps. You're seeing that. I know there's been a lot of disappointed people in fantasy this year because Charbonnet really hasn't come into it. But you will see him ingrained a little more as the season goes on. But don't get it twisted. Walker's the guy here. When it comes to Cincinnati, listen, Burrow and Chase are going to show up and show out again. If Seattle makes the mistake of turning the ball over, look out, because this is a team that they know the situation they're in. They're in last place in their division. They understand that. They fully understand that. What they need to do is start making leaps and bounds. Last week was the first week that we saw Burrow look like himself, and he knows what the mission is. Like, there's no one other than maybe Patrick Mahomes. I guess you could make an argument for Josh Allen or maybe Jalen Hurts. But really, there's no one else that I'd be looking for to lead my team back and hopefully get into the playoffs than Joe Burrow. This guy is just ice cold, and he puts up results. Yeah, he gets off to a slow start, but they definitely have more than enough time to be able to make the playoffs. So, especially in this division. So, he's feeling better, and he's coming for you, just like they say in Colorado, right? Like, that we're coming. So I think this division's for the taking, too. I really do. Pittsburgh, I don't think is that good. Baltimore, they seem to be playing well, but their receivers are always open. They just can't seem to catch the ball. Lamar can only do so much. That defense is getting better, but Cleveland without Deshaun Watson just really isn't a team, and without Nick Chubb, that's kind of difficult there. I definitely think this division's for the taking, and it's going to be Cincinnati. All right, let's move on. Speaking of Cleveland, right, we've got San Francisco at Cleveland. And this is my big concern with this game is, does San Francisco sleep on Cleveland this week? I think it's difficult to see, difficult to envision, because Purdy's going to do Purdy things. He's not listened to what people are saying about him, and he's just going out and continuing to play and continuing to put up numbers. So he's going to continue to use his playmakers to advance the ball down the field. When you have a guy like CMC, Debo, Kittle, Ayuk, listen, I mean, they're always going to be doing things like that. So I just think this offense is so good right now that he's going to have a dramatic turnaround and start turning the ball over at record rates. Guys, don't forget, he still has not lost a game in a San Francisco uniform. And I know some people are, talking about the playoff game that he had, and I get that, but he really only played a couple snaps, like 2 series in that maybe, and then he was injured and out. He didn't lose that game. They just weren't able to bring in a backup that was going to be suitable. So I really think, like, Brock Purdy, I'm a big fan of him. I love his demeanor. I love the way he plays the game. And you're seeing him get more confident within this system and start to make it his own. I think one thing that Cleveland has going for them is they've got Jim Schwartz, right? Like, this guy, he knows how to scheme up defenses. He knows how to be able to take people out of it. But on the other side of that, you've also got Shanahan that knows how to exploit defenses. So I think you're going to have a work of masterminds here when San Francisco's offense and Cleveland's defense is on the field. On defense, this could be a really tough and physical game for Cleveland, and that's something I think they really need to be ready for. With Deshaun Watson not playing, I really don't think it's close. I just don't. San Francisco's bulldozed every team they've played against. You saw what they did to Dallas. Every week it's just another victim for them. So, and like I was mentioning about Deshaun Watson, he's not going to be there. When he's there, he gives them a competitive chance. But without him, it's just, I don't even think this is a game. So, okay, let's move on here. We've got Carolina at Miami. So in this game, Miami's getting 13.5. So, or at least they were the other day. Maybe it's 2 touchdowns now, but that's it's wild. Like, right, like a 2 touchdown likelihood. It just, the sad thing is it could be more. Miles Sanders questionable. Brian Burns is questionable too. Carolina's offensive line's all banged up. Like, this could be a very, very difficult game for them. I just don't think they have the firepower to keep up. Miami is just, I mean, I hate that everyone keeps using the same terminologies with them, but they're a track team. I mean, they're just a relay race. Who's next? I mean, yeah, Achan goes to the IR, but now Mostert's going to be into it. He's going to get more touches. He could have an absolute monster game against this team. And just looking at the numbers, Miami's averaging 522 yards per game. Like, that's just absolutely insane. Carolina's given up a buck 40 on the ground. Like, this is going to be a big blowout. I don't think there's really anything else to say about this game. All right, let's move on. We got the Colts at Jacksonville here. Uh, kind of an interesting one, or would have been an interesting one if AR was playing, but he's not. With him being placed on IR, like there's a rumor that it could be 4 to 8 weeks. That's scary. My concerns last week, Zach Moss outproduced JT. JT looked okay, but is he going to take the torch back? Like I think he's a better running back than Zach Moss. I'm not trying to say that he's not. In fantasy, I think you have to start him. I don't think you have a choice. There's very few teams that have both of them, but I really think you got to start JT this week. You drafted him to play him. There's risks associated with that. You waited the first 4 weeks. You got to play him now. Like you have to. So I know I suggested starting him last week. It didn't work out, but it was the right call. Like anyone trying to come back and question that and say like, oh, you told me to start him. He ended up putting up a dud. I get it, man. But like, you got to be able to start him week in and week out. This guy's a supreme player in this league. Much better athlete than most of the people on the field. Every time he steps on the field, you have to take the chance, right? Like he's a superstar. He needs to be in your lineup every week. I'm ready personally for Minshew Mania. This guy's awesome. Like he just keeps rotating around teams, keeps giving them chances to win. He doesn't do anything spectacular, but he does enough to put his team in position to win every single game. So on the other side, and I also see it as a revenge game against Jacksonville for him. So the other side, you've got Trevor Lawrence and the Etienne show, right? Like we saw last week what Etienne was able to do. I mean, he's been an absolute stud this year. Joe Oraco. I'm trying to think of who else was telling me about it too. That it's Etienne's season this year. Adam Silva. I think he was high on him as well. He's been an absolute monster this year. Anyone that's played him and had him on your fantasy team, you've been very happy with him. He's going to continue that trend here against the Colts. Kirk and Ridley look like they're starting to come into their own, and I think they're going to continue to exploit a very, very weak Colts secondary. So they better get pressure on Lawrence because otherwise it could be a really bad game for them. I could see Lawrence going off for 300 this game easy if Indy doesn't get pressure on them. So I definitely have Jacksonville winning this. I think they're going to win this pretty big. All right, let's move on here. We've got the Saints at the Texans. So Derek Carr, he's leads the Saints again following that demolishing of New England. It was an absolute embarrassment what he was able to do there. And I think New England will have a chance to kind of remedy that, but we'll get into that next. Alvin Kamara, he's looked solid, 2 games in a row now. He's put up good fantasy production. I don't even think it's a question. He's the best running back in New Orleans backfield, regardless of who's healthy and who's not. And I just think he's, they're going to get a chance to run against the porous Houston run defense. For him, he's a no-brainer to start. You have to do it. I'd really like to see more Olave, more Michael Thomas in this offense, but we're going to kind of see. And if Houston is allowing New Orleans to run the ball effectively, we're not going to see as much Olave and Thomas as we were kind of hoping for. With Houston, C.J. Stroud coming off that tough, heartbreaking loss to Atlanta, that was really difficult to see because he's fun to watch. Every time he's on the field, you don't know what he's capable of. He hasn't turned the ball over this year, and I'm kind of wondering, like, okay, when is it going to happen? But he's just playing very sound football. My question is, how's he going to respond to that loss? Because that's a really tough one to get over. You drive them down, you're winning at the end of the game, and then Atlanta is able to come back and steal that game right out of your hands. So kind of difficult to be able to see, but Houston's going to need him to make plays and keep them in this game. New Orleans is going to put up points. Houston is going to have to try to match them for this. So Uh, I expect Tank Dell's out, so I expect a lot of Nico Collins. Uh, you know, I don't think they have much else. I don't think they're going to run the ball really well. I'm not starting Damian Pierce in my league. I know ESPN has him projected for 13 and a half points, but I'm not certain that he's going to be effective. I do expect D'Amico Ryans to try to run the ball, to try to control the clock a bit, but I'm just not convinced against this New Orleans defense they're going to be able to do that. So I have Houston actually winning this game, but I think they're going to have to do a lot to control New Orleans. It should be a close game for them. Kind of an interesting one here. You've got New Orleans at Las Vegas. This is kind of a rubber match, right, between McDaniels and Bill Belichick. We remember how the game ended last year with the fumble by Jacoby Myers and kind of uh, handing Las Vegas the win there. He fumbled the ball right into Chandler Jones's hands. Well, hopefully that doesn't happen this year. And we're able to get a good game out of this. But my big question this week is Mac Jones finally going to get benched? And is it going to be not finally, but officially in Bill Belichick's eyes? We got to know that. So it's going to be brutal to watch if Garoppolo plays well. And the reason I say that is New England let him go. Yeah, it was a few years ago. I get that and stuff, but like this was a guy that was kind of run out of town, and he went off, played in San Francisco, went to a Super Bowl. Like he ended back in Las Vegas again. Like kind of was run out of San Francisco, treated poorly in my eyes. Even though he was very classy about it and said that they didn't treat him poorly, it was pretty obvious what had happened. That he just was not their guy, and now he gets a chance to really kind of hog pile on this Patriots team that has just, for lack of better terms, has just sucked this year. So it's going to be very interesting. Everyone's going to be watching this game closely to see how Belichick handles this situation. With the Raiders coming off a big win over Green Bay, like that was a very emotional win that they had. I kind of want to see how that's going to end up, how they're going to play in this game. Are they going to feature Devontae Adams? Is he going to actually get thrown the ball? It was kind of embarrassing last week to watch to see Devontae Adams not get targeted enough. Again, I'm not a fan of Josh McDaniels. I think the guy's just not that good of an NFL coach, and I don't think he's that good of a person either. The way he kind of left Indy in that coaching position, but I don't need to explain that. I've talked about that before. I just hope this week with Jacoby Myers, they're able to give him more opportunities to try to get back at his old team. As New England, I know it would be begging for a guy like this on their team right now. Like their receivers just are not that good. Like they let go of him for Juju, and look at how Juju's been this year. Like it's kind of embarrassing. So um, one thing to keep an eye on is Max Crosby. I think he could absolutely terrorize the Pats' offensive line, and I expect him to be an absolute game wrecker. I think he's going to be the one to kind of knock Mac Jones out of the game, and I don't mean hurt him, but I mean like he's going to cause him to make enough bad plays this game that Belichick's finally going to make the decision to bench him. One thing I wanted to say about that too, I know a lot of Pats fans have been kind of critical of Mac Jones, and I get that piece of it. But this team is terrible. It's just bereft of talent. If Bailey Zappi was in there, he would suck just as much. I just want to make sure I point that out because people want to say like, "Oh yeah, like it's as simple as like getting a rookie quarterback in." And I've heard that line before when they were talking about the Chicago Bears. Listen, these teams do not have talent on them, and because of that, I'm sorry, not that they don't have talent, they just don't have enough talent to be competitive. So when you look at a team like the Patriots, who really you're not afraid of any of their players on offense, it doesn't matter what rookie quarterback you put in, or if you put in a backup like Bailey Zappi, they're not going to have a good chance to win the football game. So just wanted to be able to point that out. All right. Let's see here. Moving on, we've got Arizona and the Rams. And this is kind of an interesting one. The Cardinals rather, have been playing everyone kind of tough this year. Are they going to be able to do enough this game to beat the Rams? I don't know. I really don't think so. Stafford's back. He seems to be really airing the ball out very well. And when I mean he's back, I feel like we're seeing the Stafford of last year. He's got his toys back with Puka and Cup finally coming off the IR. Cup's looked really good. I don't think Arizona has enough firepower to be able to compete here. They're missing James Conner. Dobbs is going to need to air it out. I don't know. Like I just don't think they have enough to be able to compete. Yeah, Marquise Brown is a good player. Michael Wilson, he's a good receiver as well, but I just don't think Dobbs is going to have enough time. And when you're running from a guy like Aaron Donald, you can't sit back there for 5 seconds and really try to look for the best target to go to. One thing about Cooper Kupp, I would just say like he looked really solid back in his first week. Any doubters of like can the Kupp and Nakua process work? I think they can both coexist. Nakua can do some of the same things Kupp did, but he's also he can play on the outside as well. So I really think you've seen, and with them trading away Van Jefferson, I think you can understand that like they're able to coexist in this offense and not steal away from each other. This is a team too that could be sneaky good and sneak into the playoffs. A lot of people are doubting on them, and that's not a team that I want to play. A Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nakua team with Aaron Donald on defense. No, I don't want to play that team come playoff time. So I expect the Rams to win this one pretty big. All right, so we got Philly and the Jets, and Jalen Hurts. Listen, I have to mention it, the tush push, right? I can't get enough of it. I love the phrase, I love the terminology. I think it's amazing. Is Saleh going to be the first coach to kind of properly defend this, defend the Eagles on this? I don't. No team's been able to do it so far. I've seen other teams try to replicate it. I've seen it not work, but Philly just seems to have it down to like a perfect science. So I really expect them to do very, very well with this and be able to use it in all short yardage situations. I truly feel like this team funnels through production of AJ Brown. When they get him involved early, like it's really a great thing to see. And I'm a little disappointed about this game because I really was looking forward to see AJ Brown and Sauce Gardner going at it. But Sauce is out with the concussion. I know he's posting on Twitter saying like he feels good and stuff like that, but it's not going to be feasible for him to be able to play. Hurts, he's going to have to guide this team through the game, and the Jets have a tough defense, so it's not a gimme game for Philly. Like if they go into this and they're overlooking the Jets, it's not going to be good for them. Like this defense plays people very tough, and they're good. Even without Sauce Gardner, they still are a very good defense. So Philly can't sleep on that. I really want to see Philly's defense start to play more. Um, I say play more. I want to see them play better. I want to see more Jalen Carter. I want to see. I know Nakobe Dean, I think, just came off IR. I really want to see him kind of step into that role. I want Jordan Davis to be crazy dominant this game. I want to see some crazy dominance out of him this game. This New York Jets team, they're hampered by injuries. Like we all saw Aaron Rodgers walking around the clubhouse and stuff. I'm still not sold on him coming back this year. I think it's all for show. I think it's to get the guys in the locker room pumped up to still keep them playing tough. But they just lost Elijah Vera Tucker with an Achilles tear. His season's done. That's really tough for him. It's getting worse for this team, and that's kind of sad. Like it doesn't help Zach Wilson losing Vera Tucker. It's not a good thing for him. So I expect them to run the ball a lot, use Brees Hall. They're going to use the piss out of him. They really have to. So I still think Philly wins this game. I don't know. The Jets may be able to keep it close, but I see Philly in control from beginning to end as long as they don't overlook them. All right, so we got the Lions in Tampa Bay. So this is a story of a great running football team against a defense that defends the run very well. The nice thing about Detroit is they get Amon-Ra St. Brown back this week, which I'm really happy about. They definitely need him, but I'm excited more so with him coming back because you're going to see him and Jamison Williams on the field for. It's been a long time since we've seen that, right? Like I think Jamison Williams came back last year. He played a couple games, but he only had one catch the entire time. Now we're going to get to see both of them on the field with Sam Laporta. You've got him over the middle. You've got Amon-Ra to move the chains. You got Jamison Williams to go deep, and you've got David Montgomery to just try to pound the rock. I think this is also, and I hope they are able to scheme this up, where they run Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield. I want to see plays where we've got Montgomery and Gibbs on the field at the same time. I want to see Gibbs running out of the slot and him being able to create mismatches as well. I'd really like to see that. I think Tampa Bay. Listen, they play people tough. I'm a fan of Baker Mayfield. They've got talent on this team. I don't know. They had Mike Evans nursing the hamstring. I really want to see him back playing again before I'm sold that he's going to be, fully operational, fully a go. I think Detroit just brutalizes them this game. They are a very tough, physical football team. That's the way they play. That's the way their coach wants them to play. And if they need to, for instance, if Tampa Bay is being able to stop the run against them, they're able to air it out and be that kind of finesse team as well. So I think Detroit's a lot better than people think. I don't think they're better than the Eagles or better than the Niners, but I definitely would put them in the same category as Seattle. Now I know Seattle beat them in overtime, but I don't know. With this, I really want to see Detroit take that next step this year. Big Peppy Nips, what's good, dude? Oh man. Hopefully the boy did well. How did the game go in West Greenwich, man? Hopefully he played well. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, cut that glass, man. Dude, that is awesome. I'm so happy. Give him a big hooray from Uncle Shane. I'm real pumped about that. So all right, we'll move on real quick. We've only got a few more games to chat about here, but we've got the Giants and Bills. Now, this is going to be kind of